Hey everybody, I'm Jean, and I'm so glad you're here today. Let me ask you a quick question. What's the last thing you were so obsessed with that nothing else seemed to matter? I asked some of my friends, and here's what they said.
The beach. I love the beach. Everything about the beach. I love swimming. I love getting tan. I love laying down. I love hanging with my friends. I am obsessed with the beach.
One thing that I'm obsessed with right now and forevermore, Arsenal Football Club. I know all the players, I know most of their stats, I even know some of the names of their children.
One thing that I am completely obsessed with right now is learning how people create things.
Oreo balls. Like roll up Oreos, you put them in a ball, you cover them in chocolate, you freeze them. Oh, Oreo balls.
No matter what it is that pulled us in, we all know the feeling of being totally obsessed with something. Every word we say, every thought we think, every choice we make, every little thing we do, every part of our lives seems to be completely caught up in that thing we're into. And one of the things that has the potential to make everyone feel caught up is comparison. You've probably heard about comparison before, right? It's when we compare something about ourselves against something about someone else. You love your brand new shoes! Until you see a pair that somebody else is wearing in your small group. You think your grades are so good. Until you hear about the grade your best friend got. You're feeling good about how many views you got on your TikTok. Until you see how many of your friends are getting TikTok views on their posts that they put up. That's comparison. And if we're not careful, it's something we all have the potential to get caught up in. Here's the difficult thing about comparison. It has a way of taking over every part of our lives. Our thoughts, our words, our actions, our relationships, they're all impacted when we're caught up in comparison. Eventually, it has a way of leading us to believe things that just aren't true. When we compare ourselves to others, we can start to believe their lives are better than ours in some way because they have so many YouTube followers, or made the game-winning shot, or got to take that girl to the school dance, or have more friends than we can even imagine having. Comparison tells us they have everything we think we want. Because of that, we start to think their lives must be better than ours. Of course, nobody's life is perfect. But even if we know that's true, we still get caught up in the comparison. And when that happens, that can bring up all kinds of stuff. For some of us, it's disappointment. We look at what they have and it makes us disappointed in what we have. Others of us get frustrated. The fact that someone else has what we think we deserve just doesn't feel fair, and that makes us mad. Maybe for you, the feeling comparison brings into your life is hopelessness. No matter what you do or how hard you try, you think you'll never be able to get where they are or what they have. Or maybe comparison motivates you. Instead of giving up, you decide to try harder, push faster, do whatever you have to do to get where they are. Comparison may even help you feel really good about yourself. In a way, it helps you feel good about what you have, which isn't a bad thing at all. But when it makes you believe you deserve all those things more than someone else, that's not a feeling you want to get caught up in. No matter how comparison makes you feel, it never really takes you anywhere. As soon as you reach the thing you want, you find something else to compare. It's never enough. The cycle just never ends. I'm sure there has to be a way to break free from comparison. The good news for us is that we're not the first people in the world to get caught up in comparison. And we definitely won't be the last. It's part of being human. Thankfully, the humans who lived thousands of years ago, just after the time Jesus was alive on earth, wrote down a thing or two about their struggles with comparison. The passage we're gonna look at today was written by a guy named Paul, a leader in the spread of the Christian faith. Paul often wrote letters to encourage people and help them learn more about God. In the letter we're going to look at today, Paul addressed what it looks like to get caught up in comparison. Here's what he said. "Oh, don't worry. We wouldn't dare say that we are as wonderful as these other men who tell you how important they are. But they are only comparing themselves with each other, using themselves as a standard of measurement. How ignorant. Here, Paul was specifically talking about some false teachers who were bragging about their spirituality to others. However, I think the truths he shared here can still help us with what we're talking about today. Basically, Paul was saying, listen, comparing yourself to other people isn't good. It's not smart. It's not wise. It's not helpful. Let's not do it, okay? Why? I think what Paul wanted us to know was that when we compare ourselves to each other, we're going to get caught up. When we hold our real life up to someone else's life on social media, when we compare the way our family looks to the way another person's family looks, when we look at what we have in comparison to what someone else has, we'll always end up losing. We're never going to break free from the cycle. That's because we're looking in the wrong place. I know this is true not only because of the way comparison makes us feel, but because of something else Paul said in this very same letter. Take a look. When people commend themselves, it doesn't count for much. The important thing is for the Lord to commend them. Don't miss Paul's point here. It's not about how we compare to other people. At the end of the day, that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't count for much in our lives. What does count is this, how God sees us. That's where we can look to find our worth, our value, our identity. That's where we can break free from comparison. God doesn't compare you to others. See, God made us. God designed us to be just the way we are. Because of that, God doesn't need to compare us to anyone else. The way God sees us is shaped by the love God has for us. That's the way God wants us to see ourselves too. Instead of getting caught up in comparison, we can choose to remember that in God's eyes, we're always enough because God doesn't compare you to others. There's just one more truth I want to share with you that I think can help us here. It's some wisdom from a book called Proverbs. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Comparison starts in our hearts. So, if we want to avoid letting ourselves get caught up in the negative parts of comparison, then we have to stop it where it starts, our hearts. As this proverb says, we have to guard our hearts. Here are some ways you can do that this week. First, pay attention to your feelings. Notice the way your mood or outlook changes when you start to compare yourself to someone else. Do you feel disappointed, frustrated, angry, anxious? Those feelings may be clues that you're caught up in comparison. Then find out what's causing it. What are you looking at, thinking about, or doing when you start to feel those things? What's causing your negative feelings of comparison? If it's something in your control, take a step away from it. Close the app, turn off the TV, take a break from that friend group for a day or so. If it's something you can't control, talk to someone who can help. A parent or small group leader is a great person to start with here. They can help you identify steps you can take to guard your heart and break free from what's causing comparison in your life. And lastly, celebrate what you do have. Instead of filling your heart with comparison, fill it with celebration for all the things you do have, the things that you're thankful for, the things you like about yourself, the good in your life. In fact, focusing on the way God sees you is a great place to start. When you're tempted to compare, fill that space in your heart with something better. Fill it with things that remind you of the truth that God doesn't compare you to others. Every single one of us struggles with comparison in different areas of our lives. The good thing is that we don't have to struggle alone. One of the reasons we have groups is to give you a place to talk about these things and become more aware of them. I hope you'll open up about how you may be struggling to break free from comparison with your group today.